Mabuhay mga kababayan, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to a very special real estate edition of Kababayan LA, where in this program, the last how many months, we've had Realtor Mia MacLeod join us from MacLeod & Associates. Of course, she has been explaining to us some complexities involving real estate because we're trying to empower you guys because knowledge is power, and when you're out there buying or selling your property, we need you to be informed. And today on the show, this is very special because we're going to bring you back some of those discussions regarding real estate para po magkaroon kayo ng arm and weapon when you go out there. Starting with this one, when Mia MacLeod explained to us the different kinds of sales.
This Real Estate Buzz segment is brought to you by MacLeod & Associates, a full-service real estate and mortgage firm. It's not about the number of homes we sell, it's about the difference we make in people's lives.
So, Mia, you know, you look young, and people might be thinking, you know, what does she know about real estate? And there are realtors out there that, you know, are older. They think that perhaps they're more experienced. Talk to us a little bit about your experience as a realtor.
Okay, well, actually, you know, I got into the industry at 22. I opened up MacLeod & Associates at 22, so we're actually celebrating our 8-year anniversary as a business.
Congratulations.
Thank you, with 55 real estate agents under us, and I work with 5 different members on my team.
Right.
So, you know, I think the best kind of experience has really been something like what I've gone through at 22, crunch time, 8 years, dealing with this 24 hours a day, versus, you know, veteran agents, which are great. Some have been maybe even in the industry for 30 years or so.
But doing it part-time.
But doing it part-time versus full-time like this, along with a team and along with managing 55 agents. You can see the learning curve for someone like myself is overnight.
Right, but you know, it's not only that. I've heard you answer questions earlier, the way you explain things, very, very simple. And you want that from your realtor because you need to understand the process that you're going through. This is not an easy thing. This is a big life decision to buy a property, to buy a house. Now, the last time we spoke about pre-approval.
Yes.
So after you get your pre-approval, what are the next steps?
Well, I love this because the next step is actually one of my favorite parts of the whole process.
Which is?
That's touring process, going out into the open market and seeing these beautiful homes. But you definitely have to take care of that pre-approval. And a lot of the clients, you know, they want to rush to the touring process, but they understand after going through it why it's so important. So after all that's done, we sit down with our client. We tell them what they can expect once we hit the market, what kind of market trends are out there. We try to get what their parameters are, what kind of house they're looking for. If they're starting a family, is a school district important? What kind of square footage they're looking for? Are they looking for an older home or a newer home? And if that's the case, are they okay with HOA or Mello-Roos? So we explain all of that, and not only that, but we try to set the expectation on what kind of sales they're going to see out there once we hit the market.
Yeah, let's talk about that. There are 3 types of sales right now.
Yes.
The standard short sales and foreclosures.
That's right.
Can you differentiate each and every one?
Yes. You know, right now, the 3 main types of sales, which is what you mentioned out there in the open market for our clients, again, are the standard sales. So that's an equity seller, meaning the seller either walks away from the sale with a profit or at the very least without having to out-of-pocket any money. The second type is a short sale. The homeowner is underwater. They probably owe more on their loan than the house is worth. And then the last type of sale is a foreclosure, a bank-owned property. In that case, for example, if you like a property that's a bank-owned foreclosure, you'll be dealing directly with them as a buyer versus a regular seller or homeowner.
It sounds so complicated, and I think that's why you need somebody like Mia and her agents to help us because, you know, there's so many things involved. And obviously, if you're going through this, and you, not like you've been in the industry for 8 years, so you know the ins and outs. For somebody like myself, perhaps, you know, I wouldn't know.
Yes.
So you need a team working, helping you. What are the entities? Who are the entities involved in buying a property?
You know, this is another great question you're asking because I think there's a big misconception. I don't truly feel buyers and sellers understand how complex the transaction is. It's not as simple as let me find a house, put the down payment, and then close it up.
Right.
You know, it's really, there's a lot of people involved. In one given transaction, you can expect maybe 20 plus people to have a hand in that.
Wow.
And maybe several different entities.
Do the sellers and buyers have to talk to all those, or?
Well, that's why you have a realtor,
Okay.
you know, and that's why it's so important, because you want someone, you know, protecting you, backing you up if something happens. You have an escrow company that's involved. They are a third neutral party, and they make sure that the terms of the agreement are fulfilled. Then you have a title company. They make sure that when title transfers over to the new homeowner, that any liens or clouds or issues that were on title prior are cleaned up and don't transfer along the transaction. Then you have a lender, the one who's lending you the loan. And within that entity alone, you've got several people involved, from the underwriter, the account manager, the funder, the one locking in your interest rate. And then, of course, you've got the appraiser, who, you know, gives you a full report on the actual value of the property. And then your home inspector that does a full analysis of the current property condition. So you can imagine all of
complex.
these. If you don't have a realtor, you won't know who's responsible for what role and what, you know, what responsibilities they have. So.
Exactly. Also, one type of sale is short sale na usong-uso po ngayon. And when we return on Kababayan LA, we're going to be talking about the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts when you're going through a short sale. Don't go away. The Real Estate Buzz is a regular segment here on Kababayan LA, wherein we try to arm you with different information that you need to know if you want to be a player in the real estate industry out there, whether you want to buy, you list your property, or you want to sell your property. And with the help of McLeod & Associates through Realtor Mia McLeod, she has been explaining things to us and terms to us. And one of those things that, you know, are one of the situations that's very common these days when it comes to real estate are short sales. So ano po bang dapat nating malaman kung tayo ay mag-short sale ng property o tayo ay bibili ng short sale property? Let's watch this. Mia, first of all, thank you. You know, every time you come here, a lot of our viewers learn something about real estate, which is very important, especially in our economic climate right now. I also hear a lot about short sale.
Yes.
What are short sales?
Well, short sale is one way to prevent foreclosure. It's when a homeowner or a seller wants to sell their home for less than what they currently owe to the lien holders. A lien holder can be your first loan, your second loan, or a home equity line of credit. So, for example, let's say John Doe owes $400,000 to the bank, and he sells his house for $300,000.
Okay.
The bank has to be willing to take that $100,000 loss, resulting in a short payoff.
And what is happening right now? Do you see a lot of banks doing that? Do you see a lot of homeowners selling, doing the short sale route?
We've seen a pickup in short sales in 2012, definitely, and we think that in 2013 we're going to see that niche really carry on.
Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It really depends on the homeowner's situation. It's definitely not for everyone, but it can also be a great alternative for a lot of people out there.
And say, for example, this is an alternative for me. How do I apply for a short sale?
For one, you have to be a homeowner that's underwater. So again, you need to owe more to the bank than what the house is currently worth.
Does it matter if it's like $60,000 underwater, $100,000, $10,000, $20,000?
No, not necessarily. But more importantly, you also have to be able to show some kind of hardship.
Okay. How do you show that? What determines a hardship?
That's really a great question, because there are a lot of people out there, I feel, that are, you know, currently going through a hardship, but not sure if their current situation actually qualifies as a hardship. So there's many types of hardship, you know. One can be unemployment. One can be a loss in income. Maybe they took a huge cut in their job. One can be for medical reasons, or even if they have a family member that maybe has cancer and they're taking care of them, or a job transfer. They're moving to another state for job reasons, a divorce, or maybe you have a college son or daughter now, and so your debt has increased.
Oh, okay. So those are the different things. And that's why you need to consult with a realtor who knows what she's doing, because they can explain these things to you. And speaking of explaining, can you explain to us what is mortgage debt relief?
Okay, that's another really good question. Before this act actually passed, you know, anyone that short sold a home would be responsible for paying taxes on the loss.
Okay.
So taking that example we used earlier with John Doe, he owed $400,000 to the bank. He sold it for $300,000. That $100,000, he would have received a 1099 from the bank as if it was earned income, and he would be responsible for paying the taxes on it.
That sucks.
Yes, definitely does.
Okay.
And so what that act did is it relieved the homeowners of that tax burden.
Okay, which is good.
Really good.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So aside from that, what are the benefits of doing a short sale?
You know, for one, it doesn't have the same social stigma as a foreclosure. Two, you know, you're still the owner of the home, so you're taking a proactive approach to selling your house, and you get to meet the buyer.
Okay.
You know, another reason is a lot of these lenders are giving relocation assistance. If you qualify, of course, but that's a monetary assistance. And lastly, and the most popular question that these clients want to know is, you know, how soon after a short sale can I buy?
Exactly.
Yeah. And according to Fannie Mae guidelines, you're eligible to apply for a mortgage loan 2 years after the short sale.
So you waited out for 2 years.
You wait out. That's, you know, really it's a blink of an eye for some families. You know, and just to give you an example, some families we short sold 3 years ago, they're buying houses now for much less, for more solid loan programs.
Better interest.
Better interest rates, and almost some of them it's half their mortgage payment than what they used to. So it's like a fresh start.
Yeah,
you know?
that sounds good. You enumerated a lot of benefits. What about drawbacks? Are there drawbacks to a short sale?
Well, basically, the one main drawback is no short sale is guaranteed to be approved.
Okay.
And the process can be frustrating and time-consuming for, you know, everyone involved. But, and one other drawback is there's credit implications. So, of course, your credit gets affected. But, you know, if this is really something for you and you're thinking about it, you really need to consult with an experienced real estate agent that knows the pros and cons, get educated to see if this is really something that's a good alternative.
Wonderful. And McLeod and Associates, their team will be there to help you. You explain everything with your clients, right? And
absolutely.
You take them through the process and all that, so you'll never leave them. You'll take care of them.
Oh, we handhold and eliminate as much of the guesswork as we can.
All right. Yeah. We have your commitment. Everybody's watching. They can hear you. That's the number to call on the screen to call for your appointment now for consultation. Thank you so much. The good news is the market seems to be picking up. Mas marami daw po ngayon looking to buy a property, although inventory is very limited. Now, the bad news for those wanting to buy, when inventory is limited, pinag-aagawan po yan. And in fact, when Mia McLeod was here not too long ago, she talked to us about how ang daming multiple offers per one property, and some of those offers are listing offers that are above asking price. So when it's like that, how do you remain competitive? If you're looking for a property to buy, how do you outbest, ika nga, yung mga iba pang nag-o-offer wanting that same property? Here are some tips from her. They're not only beautiful, they're also very smart, and they will take care of you. In fact, every other Wednesday, they come on the show to give us some updates about real estate, empowering us, arming us with information. And especially nowadays, I hear, Mia, that is it what, a buyer's market, seller's market? All I know is so many people want to buy,
absolutely,
but there's not enough inventory out there.
There's not enough inventory, but that's why it's very important to come up with some strategies, some game plans before you as a buyer hit that market.
So what are the chances for success for people who want to buy?
Well, before we get into these strategies and chances and things like that, I just wanted to highlight some recent stats that came out by the National Association of Realtors. A year ago, from 1 year ago, 15% of home sales have increased, and it's on its 20th consecutive month of increased sales.
Wow, so it's just been going up.
It's just been going up with sales of properties and houses. But just last month, February, 30% of buyers were cash buyers, and inventory is 20% less than it was last year, and in some areas even higher percentages. So inventory is tight. That's why we're seeing those multiple offers. But these are not stats to discourage you as a buyer, but just to understand what you're up against. That way you can come up with a game plan with your realtor before you hit the market.
First of all, why is it like that? Why are we seeing a decline or, less inventory now when we've been hearing about foreclosures or short sales?
Well, these banks, if you talk to them now, they're really trying not to foreclose like before. They do want to keep these homeowners in the property.
Right, okay.
So they're coming up with different tools like loan modification, short sales, foreclosure prevention type of tools. But with saying that, if you are a buyer in today's market and you are trying to lowball in a real estate environment like today, you're really wasting your time.
Okay.
As a buyer, when you hit that market, you're going to be up against aggressive offers, and some of these can be all cash buyers, and these cash buyers are no longer lowballing like they did 2 to 3 years ago. They're coming in strong, they're coming in aggressive, and they're coming in above list price in many cases.
So what does this mean for buyers out there, and how can we remain competitive? What can we do to be competitive?
Okay, great question. But I just want to throw one example out there that our office experiences. When we list a property, it's not uncommon to receive multiple offers within the first 72 hours of that property.
72 hours?
Yeah, so 3 days, sometimes we'll have 9 offers, and a lot of these can already be above list price.
Yes, yes.
So some of these strategies, definitely, this is where we as realtors can get really creative. We can come up with ideas that get our buyers to have that edge and to stand out. You definitely, number one, want to come in with your highest and best offer from the onset. In the event your offer doesn't get accepted, you never want to feel like, I should have, I could have done this, or have any regrets. At least if you come in strong from the very beginning, you know that you put your best foot forward, and maybe it just wasn't for you. But highest and best is not just price. You could tweak the offer terms so that you can stand out against other offers. Things like, maybe take the property in its as-is condition. Don't ask for any repairs. If you don't need closing costs, don't ask for closing costs. If you're a buyer that does, of course, try to include that in there. But if you're up against 10 offers, that could put you at a big disadvantage. The earnest money deposit, for instance, tell the seller, if they accept your offer, you'll deposit that into escrow within 48 hours. So that says, seller, pick me as a buyer, and if you do, I'll put money in escrow in 2 days.
Right.
This shows the seller how serious you are, and it allows you to stand out. And one really good thing is, if you're a buyer that's planning to live in the property as an owner-occupied property, you definitely want to make sure the seller is aware of that and make that emotional connection. Because even though you may be up against cash buyers, sellers typically like to know that they're going to pick a buyer that's going to put the same love and care in that home that they did.
And I want to add one more tip to that, because I think you're not saying it, but I think it's really important that you partner with a good realtor that will protect your interest and give you good advice.
Absolutely. So again, this is where there's other tools you can do. The standard purchase contract is not necessarily just set in stone. Again, you can tweak it to make your offer stand out. And one last thing that I think a realtor's responsibility really is, and I emphasize this at the office to my team and to my agents all the time, the way you package out that offer from the beginning is extremely important. It's a true indication of who you are as a buyer, who you are as a realtor, and how you will handle that transaction in the event the seller picks your offer.
Right.
So, an offer doesn't just include the purchase contract. It includes the earnest money deposit, the proof of funds, the down payment, the FICO scores. And if you don't have that all there, it can cause the seller to have a question mark.
So it's a full package.
Full package.
And make sure if you're looking to buy or looking to sell or list your property, that's the number to call on the screen, McLeod & Associates. You can trust them to hold your hand from start to finish. Without a doubt, buying a property, especially if it's your first time, it's one of the most exciting moments in your life, But at the same time, it can also be very scary. Marami pong mga dapat isipin, maraming dapat intindihin at alalahanin. But at the same time, don't fret, because know that the law is on your side. There are contingencies in place to protect you. And we're going to be talking about that when we return on the show. Don't go away. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us on Kababayan LA. Sana po marami kayong natututunan, as today we are giving you our very special real estate edition of Kababayan LA sa tulong po ni Mia McLeod, realtor from McLeod & Associates, who has been explaining to us the ins and outs of the real estate industry. And so far we've talked about the different types of sales, short sales, do's and don'ts, ins and outs. Also, we've talked about strategies in order to buy a property these days. But then at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, it can be very exciting yet very scary because, you know, it's a big responsibility and there are complexities that you need to understand with your realtor. But Mia has also assured us that there are contingencies in place, so there's no need to be scared. What are those contingencies? Let's watch this. Mia, the last time you were here, we talked about how difficult it was to look for properties to buy. So are we calling it's a seller's market? Is that what they're saying? Or,
you know, yeah, in some areas, definitely a seller's market. When you list a property for sale, it could be done, or you could get multiple offers within 24 hours. Right. So definitely in some cases, you know, you're seeing multiple offers and it closes up above list price.
So when somebody wants to buy and through a lot of patience and aggressive offers, of course, with the help of your realtor, and you're able to get the purchase, what are some of the things that we need to understand? Purchase contract and contingencies.
Okay. Well, you know, first of all, a lot of buyers are overwhelmed, especially first-time home buyers today because of the competitive market. But what they don't know is that the standard purchase contract has a lot of protections in place for them. And of these protections, there are what we call contingencies. There are three main contingencies: the loan contingency, the appraisal contingency, and the home inspection contingency. And in a market like today where bidding wars are happening all the time and offering above list price is becoming more and more the norm, these buyers' number one question is, you know, what if the appraisal does not come in at the purchase contract price?
Right.
So, you know, what kind of protections do they have in place? So let's say, for example, you know, before you make an offer on that house, you know, you definitely want your realtor to do area comps, do their due diligence on the market value. So let's say you find a property that's $350,000, listed at $350,000. You absolutely love that house, so you make an offer on it. You make an offer at $370,000 because after your realtor's due diligence, area comps are coming in at $370,000, and you want to be competitive. Now the seller accepts that offer, and then your lender will order an appraisal. But let's say that appraisal comes in at $365,000.
Right.
So you're $5,000 short.
Yes.
The true value is showing $365,000, not $370,000.
Yes.
What are your options?
Yes.
One, go back to the seller, show them that appraisal report, and negotiate the price back down.
Okay.
Two, if the buyer is, or if the seller is not willing to do that, then you as the buyer can out-of-pocket that difference. Three, if you as the buyer don't have the funds or you don't want to bring in that difference and the seller's not willing to negotiate the price down, well, that's why you have that appraisal contingency that protects you, where you can cancel at that point.
Okay.
So, and then the second contingency is the home inspection contingency. You can walk into a house, it looks absolutely turnkey, gorgeous, upgraded to the naked eye, everything looks great. But little do you know, there could be foundation issues, there could be plumbing issues, electrical issues, roofing issues, etc. So that's why it's so important. Hire a licensed home inspector so that they can do a thorough analysis and provide you with a report of the condition of the property.
Right.
And I just want to note on there, because in a competitive market like today, a lot of buyers are accepting these properties in its as-is condition.
Exactly.
They're willing to take it with those repairs.
Right.
But if they're a buyer that's taken out a loan, these lenders have their own parameters and a certain guideline that they want these property condition to be. So if it's missing a stove, or it has chipped paint, or maybe missing flooring, or some appliances or faucets,
termites,
or fixtures, whatever it is, they will not, they won't lend on it if that's their guideline. So even as a buyer, you're willing to take it like that.
Right.
If your lender does not allow the property condition to be in that state,
they won't get money. You won't get a loan.
They won't get the loan, so you will have to mitigate those issues before you close escrow on it.
Yeah, you know what? It is exciting to buy your own property, especially first-time home buyers. But also at the same time, it can be scary the way you explain it now. Given these conditions, these situations, what are your last thoughts, parting thoughts, or advice that you can give to people out there that may want to buy, that are looking to buy?
Okay, well, it is scary, and that's why you have those contingencies in place. And really quickly, that loan contingency is the last one.
Okay.
And that's one other contingency that can protect you in the event your loan doesn't go through. But my last pieces of advice is, I know buyers are feeling burnt out. They're frustrated. They're making multiple offers, and they're not winning the bid. You know, my 2 cents is stay the course, be aggressive, be realistic, and be patient. Sometimes that means you have to go back to the drawing board with your realtor and maybe make adjustments. But as long as you're open-minded, you have strategies in place, a good realtor, and you're realistic, there's a home out there for every buyer.
What is the average time from wanting to buy, starting to look at places or getting pre-approved even, until the time you get a place?
Okay, so the escrow period itself, that's already when you've already identified a property and you're in contract, can be 30 to 45 days, depending on the type of loan or financing you're taking. And it could be as short as 10, 14 days if you're a cash buyer. But the touring process, that's where it varies. It really depends on how aggressive that buyer is, how much time they put into it, and how much they make it a priority. So it could be as quick as the first tour, you find something, you're realistic with your offer, and you get an accepted offer. But it also could be months.
Yes.
There are some people
years too, even?
If you're touring years, you really have to go back to the drawing board and make some adjustments, because that means you're definitely not being realistic or your realtor's not doing a good job. Unless you're in a short sale. If you've locked in early on in a contract on a short sale, well, those can take long. But if you're loyal to the process, it could take as long as a year, but at least you stuck it out with that one property. If you're touring for a year and you're making offers left and right and you've never solidified a contract, then I would say some adjustments definitely need to be made at that point.
And the number one maybe is to change your realtor. And McLeod & Associates, they know what they're doing. Mia, you've been in the business for how long now?
We've been open for 8 years.
8 years. And you as a realtor, how many years have you been?
8 years we've been open, but our team collectively has over 30 years of experience.
Over 30 years of experience. That is priceless. Information on the screen. Call them now if you are looking to buy or looking to sell, or if you want to list your property. That's the number to call. Thank you. More power to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on the show. Sana po marami kayong natutunan. If you missed any of the segments today or any of the shows previously, log on to YouTube. We are there, www.youtube.com/kababayanla18. Meanwhile, this has been Janelle Sawyer, Kababayan in Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time.